Hi, everyone. Wish we were all here in person in a room. We're not, but so glad those of you who could join us are here. Obviously, I'm Heather Ambrose, and some of those of you who don't know me, I'm a realtor here at Pacific Sotheby's here in San Diego. And we're going to have a super informative webinar here about after I sell you your home. You may eventually going to be leaving it behind. And so we're going to have you settle in, grab a beverage, and get ready to learn how to navigate the not so exciting but very important world of planning for the future. So I'm here with my special guest, Tim Yates, who's the founder of Legal Docs for Less, and he specializes in estate planning, and he's here to educate you on how to set up a revocable living trust. Tim, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Heather, it's a pleasure to be here. Again, I love doing this kind of stuff because I love giving information to people so they can make informed decisions.
Wonderful. Well, we want to be respectful of all your time. We only have 30 minutes. So if you have any additional questions after the webinar, just know Tim will be glad to follow up with you. But also during the webinar, feel free to throw in comments in the chat. We'll monitor those. But let's get started. There's some questions I'm going to go ahead and ask about estate planning. If it's okay, I'm going to get some common ones. But let's first start and talk a little bit about your business, Legal Docs for Less.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite topics. So we're a unique firm. We start off as a small family-run firm. I am the registered and bonded legal document assistant on the team. My wife, Carrie, who's on the below picture, she is our lead attorney in our firm. And my specialty is just working directly with clients and helping them create estate plans to, again, protect their family, their home, their assets, and doing it in a way that makes sense. The common sense I like to use. We're going to talk to them about how to make this process work for them and their families for generations to come. And again, it's just I have a wonderful group of people that I get to work with every day. Two things, our whole firm, we're completely remote, so we don't have big, fancy, expensive offices that we have to then charge extra for to pass those costs on and try to impress people. We are, again, we have a wonderful team that covers the entire state of California. And, if anybody ever needs, if I work with somebody that needs, let's say, an estate plan, but they ever need legal services that maybe involve business law, family law, real estate law, HOA law, it's just a phone call to me and I'll connect them to our team members who are experts in their field, and they'll get a free consultation and again, discounts on services because we want to make things affordable for people.
That's wonderful to hear, affordability. So can you tell me why everyone should have an estate plan?
Absolutely. So, there's more than 6 reasons why, but just for the sake of being, in this webinar here, number one here in California is to avoid probate. I'm sure we're going to probably talk more about probate, what that even means in a little bit. But that's the number one reason why you want to have an estate plan. Number two, reduce your estate taxes. I mean, who doesn't want to be able to reduce their estate taxes? I know I do. Three, protect your beneficiaries, your loved ones. You protect your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, your mom, your dad, all those wonderful people that are in your life. Number four, to protect the things that you work so hard for, your stuff. That's maybe not as important as your family, but it's still important because you want to make sure that you have the ability to seamlessly pass on those things you worked so hard for to your family without having the state of California involved in that process. Your health, that's one thing that people don't really understand too, is that when we talk about an estate plan, it's really called a revocable living trust. A living trust meaning that it's a living, breathing document alongside of your living, breathing body. So you want to make sure that you have your healthcare directives in place. We saw a lot of things happen when COVID hit. People were in the hospital on ventilators. They weren't able to communicate nobody could advocate on their behalf for their healthcare wishes. They didn't have directives and those things like that. So that was a complete disaster. So we make sure those are included, obviously, which are very, very important. And then also there's some privacy components of protection as well, having your estate plan, your deed in the name of a trust and not your individual name and stuff like that. So these are just a little handful of why you should have an estate plan.
That sounds great. So, but in there you mentioned probate. Can you tell everyone what probate really means in terms of costs and processes?
Yeah, so let's just define what probate is. What it is, it's the court-ordered and supervised process of identifying and gathering the assets of a deceased person, and then paying out the taxes, debts, liabilities, and then literally whatever crumbs are left over, distributing the crumbs, to the family. The problem with the process, it's expensive and it takes a lot of time. And it's
Mm,
something that, if you've ever personally gone through it or you've witnessed people go through it, it's not a fun process. It's a complete nightmare. And it's something that, I'm very, very passionate about helping people avoid that. And the good news is that it's completely avoidable. That's why we're here. We want to help as many people avoid it as possible because statistically speaking, it's scary to see how many people don't have an estate plan. All you have to do is turn around and ask your own family members that own homes, hey,
mm,
do you have your home in a trust? And most people are going to say no, unfortunately. But we have a
mm.
solution for them, and hopefully we can reach more people through this kind of venue.
Hey, I was there, so I'm all an understanding. I'm in the business, so it sometimes takes us a little while. So that's why I'm glad that some people are listening to this or watching, so they get this good information. And so brings me to my next question is about people preparing a will. Is that the same as a trust?
Yeah, and it's probably the number one question that I get is, Tim, do I need a trust or do I need a will? And realistically, if you live here in the state of California, you need both.
Mm,
So I've seen it happen too many times too, where they said, mom and dad or grandma and grandpa have a will, so we're fine. And then they are surprised when they learn that the property's in probate and they're like, well, what is this? What's going on? They had a will. But unfortunately, a trust is the only thing that really protects your assets, from probate in California. So you really need both. And that's why we include both in every package we do. We really make sure everybody has everything they need from A to Z.
yes, California laws. So you mentioned a revocable trust. Is there another type of trust?
Yeah, so to keep it simple, I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords and terms out there. People hear, asset protection trust, they hear revocable trust, they hear irrevocable trust, they hear estate plan, all these things like that. So we're going to keep it simple. Revocable living trust, irrevocable living trust. Okay. Irrevocable living trust, really is designed for the uber wealthy. And it's really also a lot of components are designed to give up your control of your assets to an independent third party. And there's reasons why people would want to do that based on their tax bracket and what their net worth is. And so the reality of it is that the majority of people, I mean, like probably 99% of all of the people that we have in our lives and know and love need a revocable living trust. And really what that just means is revocable means that you still have complete control over all your assets, but you have the ability to revoke it, i.e. make changes to it while you're still alive. So
Mhm.
it's important to understand that, when you talk to people, it's really a revocable living trust is what everyone that we know really needs. Unless they have private jets and yachts and multiple mansions,
Mhm.
that's a whole different ball of wax. I wish we were all in that bracket, but we're
Right,
not. So yeah, revocable
right.
living trust is where it's at.
And I think some people hear the word estate and they already think, "Oh my gosh, past the Grey Poupon, like what's going on? Estate planning, that's not for me." So I could see that. So that's a good definition. That's
And,
great to
and
know.
not
We
only
can
that,
let
when they
you.
hear Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I don't want to lose this thought. Like
Mhm.
when they hear the word trust too, they think of like trust funds, like a trust fund
Ah,
baby. They think that's wealth,
right.
estate plan, that's
Mm-hmm.
wealth, trust fund, that's, well, an
Mm-hmm.
estate plan. So that's why too, a lot of people don't understand that this is really for all of us. Everybody we
Mm-hmm.
know that has anything needs to have an estate plan.
Right. You're in California.
Yep.
Say no more. True. So, what are those examples you talk about with trust? What happens where you're going to do some revoking?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the common changes that I see, first and foremost, when you have a relationship change, I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of, been doing this for quite a few years now. I've prepared estate plans for a married couple, and then I get a phone call later, they're no longer married. So then we revoke it, we create separate estate plans. when people buy and sell real estate, Heather, as a lot of times, I will work with a client maybe initially where they only own one property or maybe no properties, but then the year after they end up working with you and you get them into a property, and then we need to make sure that we update that trust to reflect that property is now held in that trust via quitclaim deed and a P Corps. So we want to make sure that's all taken care of. So when people buy and sell real estate, and then the other thing too, kind of a common thing is a lot of times people will, create an estate plan and they have children that are under the age of 18 and they can't name their children in positions of authority, like let's say a guardian for the younger children. So when that first child turns 18, if their parents wanted to, they could actually have that child be the guardian of the younger and be in positions such as successor, trustee, executor, things like that. So they'll want to sometimes elevate their children into positions within their estate plan when they turn the age of 18.
Yes, but it's good to, there are life changes that happen, like you say
Yeah.
there. We're
Yeah.
not just sedentary. So do most people own real estate put their property into the trust then?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny. You and I have definitely talked about this plenty of times off camera that unfortunately the answer is no. I mean, when you look at
Yeah.
the numbers, statistically speaking, if you look at the numbers that come from a county recorder, in a specific county, usually it's about 12.7% of all homeowners have their homes in a trust. So that means 87.3% of homeowners do
Mhm.
not. So, again, that's why I love working with real estate professionals, because you guys are really on the front lines of things and you're able to talk to people and say, look, if I looked at my database too, if I had 100 people in my database as a real estate agent that I've helped get into a home,
Mhm.
statistically, 87 out of those 100 don't have their property in a trust. And, and,
Mm.
and I just feel we as a partnership have an obligation to help them achieve that. We real estate, you guys do such an amazing job at helping people buy and sell. But I think we could do one thing better, and that's help them protect what they now have and what they will
Mhm.
have. So we want to
Mhm.
we want to change those numbers. We want to make those numbers reverse and make it for the masses.
I love that idea. It's like you're getting insurance for your home. Let's get the trust too. It's a checklist item. I like that.
Yes, absolutely.
So important. And so people know what's included in the revocable living trust.
So we talked about making sure that people are fully protected with things they need. So when we create an estate plan, i.e., revocable living trust, it includes their living trust, their pour over will, their certification of trust, nomination of guardian if they have children under the age of 18, their advanced healthcare directives, which again we kind of talked about early on, which were super important, um, durable power of attorney, your HIPAA waiver, again, which falls under the advanced healthcare directives as far as access to your medical records. And then, we always make sure that we are transferring their property into the trust, which is we refer to as the funding of the trust. So it's an important
Hmm.
component, something that I make sure that I tell them blue in the face. When we finish your estate plan, you own property. If we created that quitclaim deed for you, you got to take that next step and get it recorded at the recorder's office. So you have to do that. If you
Hmm.
don't do that, the trust is not funded. You need to do that. So,
Hmm.
again, it's an important component of this thing, and it's something that everybody needs to make sure they do.
And this is where I have to ask you about people trying to prepare their own living trust on their own. We all want to get in there and do everything ourselves, but you've already brought up so many things why you could miss some things. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so here's the thing. It wasn't that long ago when people really had one option to get an estate plan. They had to go to an attorney's office and spend whatever they were willing to pay, thousands of dollars, and that's okay. That's what it was. Then then now today you have all these kind of like fly by night websites that are popping up that says yeah, you can do it yourself. Now there's some legalzoom.com, there's some good websites out there that people can absolutely prepare their own estate plan. I'm all for people getting it done, whether they work with me or our team or not. I just want them to get it done for their families. That it's so important. But what happens a lot of times though, Heather, is people get these offers, that's like, 499 estate plan, whatever, but it doesn't include everything that we see here. Maybe it's missing. In fact, I talked to a woman yesterday whose father did his estate plan, but he had no healthcare directives in it, and there was no power of attorney in it. And
Yeah.
so, but he didn't know what he didn't know, and so that's the
Right.
thing that's scary. So people oftentimes don't understand that these are all the components they really, really need to have. And then often too, I will have people that will call me up and say, Tim, I did it myself, but can you review it to make sure it's correct? Well, and
Right.
then it ends up
Hmm.
costing them twice as much, because if they would have just really gone to us first and hired us, we would have made sure that we were taking care of it the right way from the get-go. And not guessing, because it's one thing to go and buy a desk at IKEA and put it together yourself. If it falls apart, it falls apart. But if you're trying to protect your family, your home, all your assets, God forbid you fill out the wrong forms, you check the wrong boxes, there could be tax implications, so many things that can happen with that. It's like, you just be careful. But it's definitely something that I want people to know they can absolutely, you don't need to hire an LDA like me, an attorney like our firm. You don't need to do any of that. You can do it yourself, but just be aware, make sure you know what you're doing.
It kind of like my brother trying to do his first brake job in high school. And then, my dad has to take a look at it in the end, possibly if you haven't done this before. So something
Well, I
like
hope he
that.
wasn't working on your car. He's like, I'm going to work on my sister's car. I'm going to change out her brakes.
Right. No, he did like to drive my car around a lot, though. I'll tell you that. That was no
Oh boy,
bueno.
that's
That's what
funny.
brothers do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. That is great to hear that, though, because I don't think we all have to tackle some of these important things when we got people like you guys. So, do people need to own property or have a lot of money in order to get this trust done?
No, and that's the other thing I mentioned earlier, where, again, it's the purpose of this too is to have an estate. It has a plan in place where if God forbid something happens to you, your family has a blueprint. They're not guessing what your wishes were, and you don't get family members fighting over stuff and things like that. So again, you don't need to have, back when you had one option, you had to go spend, thousands and thousands of dollars for an estate plan. You might at that point, I might say, yeah, you might want to own a home and have a little bit of an asset, some assets before you spend that extra money. But when people realize, our pricing structure and how we can help them out, it becomes a no-brainer to say, yeah, everyone we know needs to have it. Because if someone does work with me, they don't have a home yet, as you know, Heather,
Hmm.
I'll prepare the documents in a way where when they end up working with, with you or any of our real estate partners, that they're going to be able to call me up, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, and say, Tim, I just got a home and we want to put the home into the trust, and I'll help prepare their quitclaim deed, and to transfer the home into their trust. So it's already kind of prepped for them, ready to go.
Hmm.
And then again, but even if they don't, they still need to get it done, because everything you have is important, and you want people to know where you want things to go. And again, we've already talked about the healthcare directives and things like that. Those are things that are applicable while you're still alive. So they should absolutely have an estate plan done.
Yes, yes. Even if you have valuables, a motorcycle that you just
Yeah,
adore, you
jewelry,
want to
but
make.
even things that are important to you. You may have a
Mhm.
painting that's maybe not worth anything, but it's worth a lot to you and your family, and you want to make sure it goes to
Right.
the right person and stuff like that. So yeah.
And we all know that. We've seen the brothers and sisters fight over the motorcycle. So we know. And this is
Yep.
basically going to avoid that for everyone. And you can know that's been avoided. And it's what you wish to have happen for that.
Yep.
So we talked about some of the other assets that can be transferred into the trust, so the home and other assets. And what happens when I pass away at the trustor? What's going on
Well,
there?
what happens is if you're named, as a successor trustee or an executor of of an estate plan, you have some real work to do, and a lot of times I would just tell people, look, if you are named as the successor trustee, executor of someone's estate after they pass away, call up an attorney, let them know that specializes in this area, let them know your situation, and they can help you administer that trust.
Hmm.
So again, you have that option. There are some people that are really just have gone through the process before and they kind of know how to do it. and they're
Mhm.
able to do that. But a lot of times it's like, okay, even if you have something in place now, you need to make sure that it's administered properly, and there's no issues after the fact.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense. Well, here is probably the question everyone here wants to know is how much does it cost to get a revocable living trust?
Yeah, well, you and I talked a lot about this, for quite a while, and it's one of the things that honestly I was very passionate about early on when I found myself, going into this business was because I never wanted someone to say, Tim, I know I need this because I know you need this. I know everybody,
Mhm,
needs this, but I don't want someone to say, I
mhm,
can't really afford that right now. Because what happens is in the past, people get a price quote of $2,500 and up. I mean, eight, nine, $10,000 and up. And so
mhm,
you would see these things, and then people would say, you know what? I'm good right now. I'm young, I'm healthy. I'll eventually get it done. And guess what? They never get it done. So, for us, obviously, we wanted to take price out of the equation. And that's why we partner with professionals like you, Heather, so we can offer these things where, again, right to the chase, we're not going to charge your clients $2,500. The average price for our estate plans are $795, and it's the same
mm,
exact thing,
mm,
and our model, again, like I said, the things that we decided to do as a business, not have expensive offices to try to impress people. We don't market and advertise any traditional way. We don't have a marketing budget. So we're able to use all that and pass those cost savings on to our clients. And we just want people to know, look, I can do this. I can afford to spend a few $100s to protect everything versus thousands of dollars. And we just want to make sure that people understand that they just need to make this move and get it done, sooner than later. And sometimes again, it's that's probably the biggest challenge I have, Heather, is someone says, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to get this done," and they still kind of delay, 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 delay. And I've unfortunately or fortunately been doing this long enough to have seen people that I've talked to that delayed and never got it done, and it was too late. And that's a real tragedy that doesn't need to happen. And so we want to make sure that people get this done. And I'm gonna push them to do it because it's the right thing to do. It has nothing to do about sales. It has everything to do about protecting your family, and taking care of the people you love before you leave planet Earth.
and I know that you have to go in the last minute sometimes, right? If someone's in the hospital, that's something you can do, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that was
Yeah.
what, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, I mean, so what happens
Mhm,
sometimes is I do get those phone calls where people will say, my mom or my dad's literally in the emergency room. They're going in for emergency surgery, and can we get an estate
mhm.
plan done like right now? And unfortunately, it's
Right.
like, we can do some. We're pretty good at what we do. We can get things done pretty quickly and efficiently. But we need a little bit of time because the reality is that when we create an estate plan, we need you to still review it, and we also need to get a notary in place. And so, there's some steps that have to happen. But and again, on average, it takes us only about 10 days to complete an estate plan for our clients, which is
Mm,
really, really efficient and quick. Yet at the same time, sometimes people do need rush jobs, and we can do them literally sometimes in little as 24 to 48 hours if need be.
mm,
But I just say, don't put your family into that stressful spot. Just do it
mm-mm.
now, get it done with. You know, it never expires. It's not like something you have to keep re-registering for. It's just it's your contract between you and your family. And again, it's just the right thing to do.
Yes, let's not stress our families out. It's just another checklist. Again, it's like your insurance. So how do people begin the process to check this box off and get the pricing, the special pricing here today?
Yeah, so basically, again, I'm gonna send an email out to everybody that registered, whether they actually logged in or not, with a recap of kind of what we covered, a recap of the price and the opportunities. But it's really honestly, as you know, Heather, we've worked so hard to make this a seamless process. It's basically email me, Tim. I want to get my estate plan done. Okay, it's a two-step process. Step one is we email you the invoice with our retainer for the price that we quoted you, which in most cases is $795. Um, Once that is paid, our system then sends them a questionnaire to fill out. They can fill that out at their leisure, at their convenience. Once that's filled out and sent back to us electronically, then our team will get to work. They have properties, we'll pull their grant deeds, and then we'll get working on their plan and have the first draft of them usually again within the first 10 business days.
Wow, that's great. I've really learned a lot in a really short amount of time. And as speaking of time, I don't want to take too much more time of it for anyone. That's pretty much all we're going to do today. But I really want to thank you for sharing the all this expertise you have on revocable living trust. I'm going to now talk to it clients about how it's a check mark. We're doing our insurance, we're doing our trust. You know, it's very clear you have to have this. It's going to bring a lot of peace of mind and saved your loved ones so much hassle down the road, especially here in California for sure. So I really appreciate that. And then those of you who are looking to buy or sell a home, I'm your girl. We know that. I'm ready to help you get started with that. So contact me directly, whether you, your family, your friends are thinking of buying a home or planning to down the road. I'm here every step of the way waiting for you, and just really appreciate everyone for joining us today, and really hope that you found this information valuable. And anyone who's still on the call has any questions, we'd love to go ahead and ask.
Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording right now, Heather, and then we can have people